The anniversary of one of the most devastating storms to hit the coastal bend is nearing, and the local Coast Guard held an award ceremony today to honor those who stepped up when it mattered the most.
His courage, judgment, and devotion to duty.
Civilians and several members of the Coast Guard received distinguished awards like the Meritorious Service Medal and Public Service Awards for their efforts. The ceremony was held at the Coast Guard Sector Air Station in front of packed crowds.
We worked around the clock to get the job done. We had a large team. We had a lot of interagency partnerships. We had a lot of local partnerships. The community all came together as one team. We got the job done.
It's a special privilege to be here today, not only to recognize the members that we recognize today, but to also just take a minute to think about how lucky we are to be in the world's greatest Coast Guard and to be able to serve in the way that we did here in Corpus Christi after Hurricane Harvey in a way that made a difference to real people.
Everyone who received an award stressed they can be ready for the call if needed during this hurricane season.